In this work, we present MetaCLUE towards comprehensive visual metaphors research. While the last decade has seen rapid progress in many areas of understanding and generation tasks, prior works in computer vision focus heavily on literal interpretation of images. How about understanding creative metaphorical images such as these? In this work, we propose the first step towards systematic metaphor analysis in images. Specifically, we introduce a new benchmark, MetaCLUE, consisting of 4 carefully defined interesting tasks related to both understanding and generating creative visual metaphors. We provide benchmark for these 4 tasks: classification, understanding, localization, and generation. So far there haven't been any comprehensive studies on visual metaphor analysis, and this is one of the first works to provide such an analysis, highlighting strengths and weaknesses of state-of-the-art models in vision and language based on our annotations. What is a visual metaphor? Visual metaphor is an image that requires non-literal interpretation, in which a concept is compared to a seemingly unrelated concept via some shared attribute. For example, how do we interpret this image? This is a metaphorical image where the concept killing trees is compared to killing wildlife with the relationship harmful. Metaphors have a simple syntactic structure of A as B, where A is referred to as the primary concept, and B as the secondary concept, and the relation harmful between them. Metaphors provide a sophisticated tool for nuanced human communication. Metaphorical advertisements help in highlighting product attributes. For example, this car is fast. This phone is futuristic. This washer is smart. There are different types of visual metaphors. The type depends on how the primary and secondary concepts are visually depicted. In contextual metaphors, either the primary or secondary concept is not explicitly visible, but is inferred from the context. For example, apple in the first image. In hybrid metaphors, the primary and secondary concepts are visually conflated. Juxtaposition forms one of the simplest visual metaphor types, where the 2 concepts are just presented next to each other. Multimodal metaphors represent one of the concepts with another modality, such as text or logo. In this work, we introduce MetaCLUE. MetaCLUE consists of 4 interesting tasks related to visual metaphors, and we also collect metaphor annotations for evaluating existing models on these tasks. Following the fundamental vision task of image classification, we first ask, can we develop models that can classify whether or not a given image contains a visual metaphor? Through human studies, we collect about 5K metaphor images, with 2 types of negative sets, non-metaphor but symbolic images, and literal images. We evaluate multiple state-of-the-art classification models, and find that classifying metaphor images from literal images is relatively easy, compared to classifying metaphor from symbolic images. Next, we introduce localization task, where the goal is to localize the image regions that invoke either the primary or secondary concept in the viewer. 2 key differences compared to standard localization in literal images. A given concept can be present in the image either explicitly or in a contextual manner. In multimodal metaphors, a concept can be invoked by other modalities such as text or logo. We collected over 30K bounding box annotations for this task. Here are some examples of diverse bounding boxes from our annotations. We find relatively better performance in localizing secondary objects compared to primary objects. Here are some sample results where ground truth boxes are shown in green, whereas the predictions are shown in blue. Next we introduce 3 important understanding tasks: retrieval, captioning, and VQA. In retrieval, the goal is to identify the correct metaphor interpretation statement from a candidate set given a metaphorical image. We conduct several pilot studies and use a multi-stage annotation approach to collect a total of 26K clean annotations. We evaluate several state-of-the-art models in both zero-shot and fine-tuning settings. In our paper, we show more detailed experiments such as experiments with hard negatives. Overall, here are a few key observations from our analysis. models tend to rely more on primary object than secondary object in identifying correct interpretation. Fine-tuning models show gains by up to +7 absolute points in precision. The performance of models is impressive with less than 50 negative candidates, whereas the performance drops greatly by increasing K. Finally, using hard negatives, we show there is ample room for improvement. In metaphor image captioning task, input as an image, and the target as the metaphorical message in the syntactic structure, primary as relationship as secondary, we fine-tune and evaluate the state-of-the-art literal image caption model, Poly 17b, and find the model to struggle in generating correct predictions. Similarly, we propose metaphorical open-ended VQA task, where the input is an image and a given question, and the target is the answer. We use fixed templates to generate questions. Poly performs poorly, only achieving the average accuracy score of 19.9%. Next, we introduce the generation task. Recent large-scale text-to-image generative models show remarkable success in generating highly realistic images from text prompts. Can these models also work well in metaphorical image generation? We evaluate two state-of-the-art generative models, Imagine and Stable Diffusion. We see high FID scores indicating the large distribution gap between the generated and real images. Overall, Imagine performs better than Stable Diffusion in terms of the prompt fidelity. We additionally perform human studies comparing two different models at a time. Both Imagine and Stable Diffusion perform quite poorly compared to real images in conveying metaphorical messages. User studies also indicate that Imagine performed better than Stable Diffusion. Interestingly, fine-tuning Stable Diffusion resulted in slightly worse user preference compared to base Stable Diffusion. Here are some sample image generations. We can see that the generated images from both Imagine and Stable Diffusion capture different aspects of the metaphor. In summary, we present a step towards comprehensive and measurable progress on visual metaphor research. We propose a collection of tasks related to comprehending and generating visual metaphors using AI techniques. We collected high-quality and rich annotations. Existing methods demonstrate poor results in many cases, with our experimental analysis shedding light on strengths and drawbacks of different approaches, paving a concrete path for future research in this fascinating field. Thank you for watching. Please visit our project page for more details.